level? We have two main reasons. One of the first reasons is it has remaining Armstrong 100-ton gun, and this is a typical Victorian fort, meaning to understand the fortification over here, you can easily understand every fortification built by the British all across Europe in the 19th century. Now the fort is built in a certain way. What do I mean? The fort is built below ground level. You have came by the car, by walk, by bus. You have not seen the fortification over here. This was done to camouflage the fort with the environment. It's much more difficult to see it from sea or from land. So like that the enemy will not know where the fort will be over here. As well, another reason we build the fort below ground level is during this time we stop using cannonball, but using more the explosive shell. So everything above ground level is easily destroyed. So you're gonna make it below ground level as well. As well, around the fortification, vegetation was allowed to grow. This will help us to make it better camouflage it with the environment. So on top of the fort and around the fortification, there will be vegetation allowed to grow. On the outside perimeter, farmers could bring their animals, sheep, goats, stuff like that, and they could eat the grass itself. Because if you have high grass, enemies might hide behind it. Okay, so they will allow farmers bring their animals over here, and they could trim as well, you know, natural trimming the grass itself. Now, as well, the fort is divided in three different parts. We have three different sections. We have the outside perimeter over here. We have the barracks and the battery. I can show you a picture of how the fortification is divided as well. So, there are three sections of the fort. Outside perimeter, where we're standing as ourselves, is a no man's land, barracks, living water, battery, fighting area. Okay, so the fort is divided in three sections. As well, each part is divided with certain things. For example, the outside perimeter is divided by the fort with a dry ditch. And I'll explain everything once we go along. Let's start explaining the outside perimeter, the no man's land. The first thing you might have found is this bend entry over here. As you can see, not a straight road, but two bends coming all the way to the front door over here. This will be done so the enemy is upstairs with the cannon. They will not be able to fire the gun at our door over here. If they want to shoot down the door, they have to bring the cannon down this slope with these two bends. It will be much more difficult to control the cannon downhill. As well, an S shape. Usually there will be one bend, but in our case we have two. Sometimes there's physics plays and as well maths. If you hit the cannonball certain speed at a certain angle, ricochets from one side and still hits the door, preventing that two bends so to be absorbed on the other side as well. Something as well they have taken from thousands years before, glacis. Glacis are small slopes made of soil. This will be here, so the enemy is trying to fire at the fortification. The angle of the gun prevents hitting the fort. So the gun is aiming upwards and the cannonball goes over the fortification, not hitting the fort itself, or the glacis absorb the shot. This has been taken, for example, from Roman times. The Romans used to put glacis to put the enemies in a difficult situation. What do I mean? You might have some movies, documentaries, films, stuff like that. You will see that typically shield is on the left, sword is on the right. So what they used to do, they put the glacis on the right hand side. So you have to protect themselves with the sheet on the right, left on the sword on the left. Difficult to maneuver the sword, making them uncomfortable to wield the sword afterwards. So like that, this will make the enemy as well during the Roman times, for example, more difficult to protect themselves and fight using the wicker arm. As well, first line of defense, sentry box. Security. He is over here asking you for passwords and ID cards, documents to make sure you are not a spy. This is the first ever fortification combining machinery with artillery. Industrial revolution. Machine starts taking the man's job. Today, 2023, we are found the fourth industrial revolution. AI and robots. This is the first one of its kind, steam engine over here. So we don't want no one getting in here with no type of permission and proper paperwork, getting the information how the gun would work and how it fires, preventing that a soldier on duty asking you for passwords and ID cards. Okay, essential gun. He will be on duty and changing every few hours as well. Now, the outside perimeter is divided by the fort over here with a dry ditch. If you go around Europe and around the world, usually around fortifications, you are gonna find moat, areas built with water. In our case here in Malta, it's dry. Okay, us here in Malta, as you can see, we're almost in December, completely dry. Lack of rain, lack of water as well. So if we have still water over there, this as well might attract insects. rats, mosquitoes, these different animals that carry disease with them. One person inside gets sick, everyone will get sick very quickly. Preventing that, the ditch will be as clean as much as possible. Okay, now, if the enemy is standing over here, this bridge will not be over here. Now, this is not your typical drawbridge, which means the bridge does not go up to cover the door. This bridge goes all the way inside the fortification. There's a metal plank at the moment in the middle of the bridge. From that point onwards, that goes all the way in. So on the back of the bridge, there are two levers. It elevates the bridge slightly from the back. There are tracks inside, wheels, and the bridge is rolled all the way in. Okay, this part is fixed. So once we push back the bridge back in its place, it finds its place immediately. So like that doesn't go, in a different way, because the longer it is, it's much more difficult to maneuver. At the moment, we'll focus on the last part, just connecting the last pieces of the columns, which will hopefully be done in a couple of weeks' time, and we're gonna have the bridge working exactly what was done in the 1880s. As I said, this is always thanks to your help. So thank you for joining us again. Now, the reason behind the bridge will go inside the fort, simply because those doors are as well bulletproof. Okay, they are 5 inches of solid oak covered with steel on the outside, so they are completely bulletproof, difficult to go through it as well. But if the enemy tries to fire at the door, there are 2 loopholes on each side where 4 soldiers will have their own rifle shooting anyone who is found in front of the door over here. As well, on top of the fort, there are 20 loopholes upstairs. Those are known as musketry parapets, where 20 soldiers will have as well other rifles to shoot anyone who is found inside the band entry as well. So there will be 20 soldiers having their rifle aimed at downstairs here in the band entry. Even in the ditch, there are 3 tunnels and a caponniers, so counter-scarp and the caponniers as well found around the fortification. Other 20 soldiers having their rifles, small loopholes in the wall, firing anyone who tries to jump in the ditch and to climb the wall using ropes. So there are the fortification is completely protected from each angle by some type of lead. Now, in our case, here we have Fort Rinella. Usually, the name of the fort will be different. So this fortification here is named where it was built. This area known as Rinella Bay. So the fort will take the name where it was built. The same identical fort that we have over here was built in Slima under Tinia Point. There used to be an identical fort as we have here, but that fort and the cannon were dismantled in 1955 after the war. Okay, and the difference between this fort and the one in Slima was that they are mirror image. If the door is on the right, the door on the other fortification was on the left. Okay, so they were slightly a bit mirror image. That fortification over there in Slima was named Fort Cambridge. The Duke of Cambridge went over there to visit the fortification itself. So for respect, they will name it after him. But in our case, this will take the name where it was built. Usually, you're gonna put the date as well when the fort is fully finished. In our case, it's representing 1884. This is when the gun was placed inside the fortification. The fort was completed 2 years later, in 1886. Started in 1878, finished in 86. 8 years time to finish this fortification here. 60 years later, there was the Second World War, and the fort was built to be bomb-proof. 7 hits were done in the Second World War, and none of the enemy bombs went through the original bomb-proofing fort over here. So 60 years afterwards, and the fort still stands its feet. Okay, in our days, we might build buildings in a couple of years' time. After 20, 30 years, take them out again. Okay, engineering was quite high back in the day. So after 60 years, it still withstand the evolution of bombs from the Second World War. So it's 84, representing when the gun was placed, and VR in Latin, Victoria Regina. Queen Victoria was the queen during the 1880s, so they even put the initials on top of the door as well. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Moving is to basically live. If you were supposed to be on working duties, you either be in the battery or outside in the outside perimeter, not in here. The soldiers will eat, sleep, shave, wash, daily chores, but not working. Now, this very small barracks, only 7 soldiers are needed inside this fort. No more than 7 soldiers. But the fort would hold up to 35 men. If the fort will be under attack, there's a fortification down the road, Fort Rinella. That's the biggest fortification in Malta. Was done by the Knights of St. John, expanded later by the British. There used to be around 1,000 soldiers down there. They used to send 100 men just in case this fort will be under attack. So like that, there will be around 40 men protecting with rifles and manning the guns as well. Now inside here there are different rooms. First room is the guard room. In our days it's a small office for ourselves and as well as small changing room and a staff room. So we'll make it working as well. First go there and then we start restoring the last 2 rooms that we have inside here. But this used to be like a small office back in the day. Total of 3 men, 1 paperwork, resting and sentry guard duty. Every 3 hours they are gonna change. You might have been here in Malta in summer, in August, temperatures get up to 40 degrees. Imagine wearing this full uniform out there in the heat all day. It's not very nice. So every 2 to 3 hours, they're going to rotate with the gentleman over here. So like that, one time they do their paperwork and resting afterwards. On your left, which is on my right over here, you can see the first room is the dining room, where they will eat around the table over here. There are pots of tea, coffee, cold buckets, everything that they used to have back in the day over there. There are even hooks with hammocks. Inside the fort over there, you might only put about 15 soldiers, 2 to 3 people in each room. If there were more soldiers inside the fort, you attach hammock from one end to another. Each hook is painted black and white. Okay, these are very simple. Black is representing your shoes, white representing your helmet. So wherever there is black, you place your feet, white, you place your head. So you're gonna sleep one against the other. So you don't get the one next to you sick, but you snap his feet. Okay, those are the main reasons. So like that, you minimize the amount of diseases being spread inside these shelters, inside these forts. As well, first room when the fort was built, this used to be the room for the officer. It's the first room inside, bigger, big facilities, there's the main door, stuff like that. 1890s, Queen Victoria will change this room into a dining room to give it a place where these soldiers would eat at the table over there. Next to the dining room over here, we have what is known as a cookhouse. At the moment it's under restoration as well, with doing restoration work in the cookhouse. Cookhouse is basically where they will prepare all their meals back in the day. The difference between a cookhouse and a kitchen is very simple. In the kitchen, everyone can go inside it. In the cookhouse, it's in the name, cookhouse. The cook is allowed to go inside there, not nobody else. So the idea is they were noticing there were soldiers having different diseases. To minimize the amount of diseases being spread, one person in charge every single day. And they will be in charge of preparing the 3 different meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He will make sure always washing his hands, utensils, stuff like that. Okay, so only a person in charge over there. Every day is a different soldier. So sometimes you have the best meal of your life, sometimes you have the worst meal of your life. Not everyone knows how to cook. Okay, but those who are the rosters, you have to change other individuals as well. Over here we have the original latrines. These are the ones that were found as well here in the fort. We took over the place in 1991. So these are the original latrines that they will be using. And they used to have a nickname. They used to be known as a thunderbox. I hope you all know why. I won't explain. Okay, this is the first fortification combining as well flushing system. Flushing system we know it today was invented throughout Victorian times. So basically, there is a small water reservoir upstairs. There's as well, there used to be a small chain, a tunnel from here all the way out in the sea. Pull the chain, you throw the business. You might have your grandparents' houses, your parents' houses with the flushing system with the chain. That's how it was done in the 1880s. So first flushing system was introduced in the 1880s over here. In our days, it's on the outside. This used to be found inside the room on the left-hand side. In our days, there are modern toilets. Okay, a bit more hygienic. On the right-hand side, the last room is the ablutions as well. This is where these soldiers will wash 3 times a day and shave twice a day as well. Hygiene was very important down here. So they will wash 3 times a day before every single meal, breakfast, lunch and dinner, and shave off their beards twice a day. No hair on your face whatsoever. This was done to minimize the amount of disease. The main disease in the 1800s was found on the cheek and the chin area. If you have dirt under the fingernails, you scratch your face, you get sick. One person gets sick, everyone gets sick in a small environment over here. Minimizing that, you're not shaved twice a day. This you might have noticed this. You find pictures of soldiers, paintings, stuff like that, all of it with a big mustache. No beards on their faces. Okay, they had to shave off their beards. Only thing allowed on your face was a mustache or small sideburns on the side. This is the army, artillery, infantry, all the soldiers on land. If you're gonna go on sea, navy, they will allow you to have a beard. You're carrying coal. Coal is dirt. You don't get stuck to your face, it gets under the beard. Clear the beard properly and clear your duty afterwards. But you have to shave off the beard twice a day. In our days, you might do this once a week or once every 3 days. Okay, so things have changed throughout time, but soldiers have to shave every single day. Questions? No? Okay, moving further in. So, the barracks is divided by the battery over here with a small central courtyard. As you can see, it's quite a narrow courtyard. This is done for specific reasons. If the enemy tries to fire with their cannons over here, there will be a small probability the cannonball has been dropped inside over here, injuring our soldiers. As well, this is where these soldiers will do their daily training. Marching up and down, foot drill exercises, rifle exercises, everything related to the army over here. If they can keep formation in a small area, they can keep formation on a bigger area on a battlefield, for example. So that they don't break the lines. Same thing in football. Okay, in football, if you train a small pitch, they can keep formation in a bigger area as well. So same thing over here. Now, on the right, we have the heart of the fortification. As I said outside, for the first time ever, we combine machinery with artillery, industrial revolution. So machine starts taking the man's job over here. The idea is, first engine known as the boiler. We're gonna get our first tool known as a shovel, basic tool over here. Next room next to us, there's a coal store. A certain amount of coal will be placed inside over there. Get the coal and place it inside the small hatch. That will bring water into steam. The steam is gonna go inside that hole over there, where over there used to be a big giant cylinder known as an accumulator. On top of this accumulator, there will be 80 tons of scrap iron to keep the water under tremendous amount of pressure. Once the cylinder is full, engine will stop by itself, and by moving some levers here and there around the fortification, everything is moving a system of hydraulic. In our days, we have hydraulic oil. 1880s hydraulic water. The difference is oil is much more denser than water, so throughout time we even have changed the hydraulic system. Now, if the engine is working over here, 7 men could fire 1 shot in 6 minutes. Engine was not working, 40 men, it will take them 15 minutes. This is on land. The Italians had the same mechanisms on ships. Now, the Italians were defeated on a naval battle against the Austrians in the 1860s. And the Italians don't like losing in anything. Okay, so what did they do? They wanted the best ships with the best cannons. The ships were built by an Italian engineer, Benedetto Brumi. He built 2 famous Italian warships, the Giulio and the Dandalo. No factory could do cannons as the ones in Newcastle by Armstrong, so they went to Newcastle and convinced Armstrong to make 8 for them. 4 on one and 4 on the other one. The British were scared that if the Italians tried to take and invade Malta, they could do this from 12 miles away in about a few minutes. To minimize that, the British had 4, 2 in Malta and 2 in Gibraltar. And we're going to explain as well why later on. But the Italians put everything on ships. Okay, here on land, we can put everything next to each other, so nothing will move, and this will speed up a bit the process. On the other hand, the Italians take longer. Why? You're putting weight on a ship, you have to have weight distribution. Too much weight on the port or starboard side, it tilts. Bow or stern as well, it tilts as well. So they have weight distribution. What did they do? Cannons in the middle, aiming port and starboard side, 2 on each side as well, protecting 360 degrees. Engine room, pump room, coal store, powder store, shell store in the middle. So balancing all the weight around it. It will take longer time to load and fire. Here we can put everything next to each other, because land will never move. It will not tilt to one side. So this will help us to speed up the process over here. So there will be 7 soldiers able to fire 1 shot in 6 minutes if this engine was working over here. All of these engines are original except this big boiler over here. We managed to find all the original parts of these engines back in the UK in scrapyard a couple of years ago. We had original blueprints. We were not able to find the parts for the boiler. We still had the original blueprints, so we still built and designed in the same way it was done back in the day. The only parts remaining at the moment, hopefully in a couple of months' time, there is the accumulator. That's the last part of the engine. This will be in a couple of months' time as well. So we're working on the accumulator as well. So as you can see, as I said with NGO, it takes time, but slowly we're getting there, and there's always, as I said, always takes to your hand. Questions about the engine? Will not be working for any type of reason. Inside this room there will be 40 men manually pumping water using manual pumps. Here on the floor you can see square shapes. That's what the manual pumps will attach to. Wooden planks, these are covering a small hole over there. Once this cylinder will be full, they move levers, they open water, which will go a system of pipes underneath these wooden planks, and that's how the water is being moved around the fortification, by having metallic pipes underneath these wooden planks over here. Nowadays they are covered for safety reasons. Okay, but 40 men manually pumping water, and in 15 minutes they're gonna fire a one-ton shell traveling to a maximum 8 miles. Okay, so the engine was not working, you still had soldiers here manually doing the work. Okay, as I said in the beginning, there are hooks all over the fortification to attach the hammocks, so black and white for the shoes and for the helmet. Attach hammock from one side to another, and more soldiers would sleep over here. Okay, we're gonna do now, we're gonna have a seat on the benches. Inside is known as the loading chamber. This is where they will start preparing to load the gun. Before they go and start playing with black powder, they have to stop in this area, which is known as a shifting lobby. They have to change their uniforms. On the uniforms we have metal buttons, metal buckles, and on our shoes we even have metal nails. So metal on metal, this might create a type of spark. Preventing having accidents down here, they're going to change their uniforms to a white overall with wooden buttons, rubber slipper. Why is this? Black is easily seen on white, so some black powder, you dust it off. Wood and rubber, bad conductors, quite difficult to ignite any type of spark down here. Once they have changed their uniforms, the first thing they'll find is a round table, 2 sets of tracks, and there even have been a carriage on each side. In the video you only saw one, but there used to be 2 in each loading chamber. This will help us to speed up the process, keeping a circular motion going on. So like that, the gun will fire much more efficient. When in the video we put 1 to be a bit more easier and shorter, okay? But try to incur 2 carriages on each side over here, 1 going to the gun, 1 coming back to the loaded afterwards. So this will help us speed up as well the process. The first thing we're gonna do, we'll move a bit forward over here. Cartridge store. This is where they used to keep all the black powder back in the day. In our days, for safety reasons, there's no black powder, just in case someone might be smoking down here. Okay, but inside here, there will be 100 barrels, each one weighing 100 kilos, full of black powder over there, and only 4 men are allowed to inside the cartridge store. If you have a lot of people playing with black powder, higher risk of accidents. 4 men, not more than 4. 2 loading on the left, 2 loading on the right. So like that, minimizing the accidents. To give us the black powder, a small issue hatch. It's in the name. Issuing us the black powder from there on the carriage. So like that, it minimizes the amount of people inside the cartridge store. So 4 men in the cartridge store, 2 men pushing the carts over here. And here is where they used to find the shells. Inside this fortification, there used to be 100 shells. Each shell used to weigh 1 ton. We used to have 2 types of shells. An explosive shell, an armor-piercing, that's one over there. Both of them are different. What do I mean? Explosive shells are flat on top, a fuse in front, black powder inside the shell, hits the target, chemical reaction, ignites from inside out. Armor piercing, it's thicker, a point on top. Okay, this will help us to pierce the steel as well. Depending on the enemy you have in front of you, you start firing different types of projectiles. To lift a 1-ton shell, physics, pulley system. You have 2 chain blocks, 2 two rollers, you have a chain or a rope, you divide a certain amount of time, you make the weight lighter. It's much more easier to lift up that shell over there. Once you lift up the shell, you move it on the beam using the tracks over here. The wheels over here and the wheels of the carriages were either made of gunmetal or brass, soft metal, so they won't create any type of spike. Once you move the shell, lower it slowly on the carriage and start placing the black powder behind it afterwards. So this is where all the shells used to be found bigger when the fort was done. Afterwards, around 1890s, an officer came here. He told them you don't need 100 shells. There are 50 and 50. So they reduced it up to 50 over here. Nowadays we have 6 and 1 left. So these are the ones that are still left inside the fort. Okay, so once everything was ready and to be loaded inside the gun, everything will go at the end. As I said, we have 2 loading chambers, one over here, one on the other side. You can see tracks on the floor as well. Everything is loaded, push everything all the way, all at the end. Well, over here, you will have found your lift. Your lift is very simple to understand. A cylinder in a cylinder which will push all the way upwards. There will be a round table, same thing as the one we have over there. Rotate the carriage, lift, pull up the lift. On the right, there is a hole. That's where the ram will come out of. On the left, another one, that's the back muzzle of the gun. So the gun is loaded from the right hand side, but on my left over here, because it's on the right side of the cannon. So rotate the gun to the right, lower it, bring up the lift, and push everything inside of the rammer, as you saw in the video itself. So that's how the loading procedure will be done. The levers to operate the lift and the rammer, and the small turrets up above us over here. The small tunnel on the left where I was standing upstairs showing the video. There's a number lift 1 or number 1 rammer on the other side. So you can see where the levers used to be up the tool as well. Okay, so this is where the magic used to happen to load the gun. Here we have these windows as well. They used to put lanterns behind each window. You don't want to have fire with black powder. It's not safe. So between the lantern and the black powder, a thick glass, about an inch of glass. This will minimize the amount of accidents and as well heated air inside here. Each window is numbered. So if a lantern goes off, there are 2 doors at the end over there where one soldier will go inside. You will know that number 19, for example, is off, and he will change the lantern over there. Will change the candle, for example. Okay, so like they don't check every single window. They're even numbered all the way on the back, and they will know which one it is. Questions? The gun itself over here, the Armstrong 100-ton gun. The sole purpose of this fortification to house this cannon over here and to protect it. Okay, fortifications before used to be protected by guns. Now guns are being protected by fortifications. Other way around. Okay, so the generations and the evolution of forts have changed throughout time. Now over here we have in total 150 tons of weight. What do I mean? The barrel, which is the yellow part over here, it weighs 103. We say 100 to be rounded up. The carriage, 46. 1 ton the shell plus 200 kilos of black powder. So if you do the maths, 103 plus 46 plus 150 tons. So that's why to move the gun, the engine was brought here in Malta to move it. It was difficult to move this amount of weight over here. Now, to move the gun, as you saw in the video, underneath this metal plaques over here, there are the jacks with the chain going around the cylinder, which will rotate the gun left or right. Those levers to operate those were found behind the gate over there. One soldier moving the gun, elevating the gun as well. To load the gun, it rotates left or right, doesn't matter which way. There will be this hole over here, protected by a hatch and a stand in front of it. Rotate the gun, lower it, and as I said downstairs, elevate the lift and push everything inside using the rammer. Now, the gun over here could fire up to a distance of 8 miles, which is 12 kilometers. Most effective range to make sure to truly destroy the enemy, 5 miles, 8 kilometers, always a bit less. Minimum range, 3 miles, 5 kilometers. You have this simply because if you lower the gun too much, there's the fortification, some land in front of us. We might do some damages. preventing that a small gap at the angle 3 miles minimum, most effective 5, maximum to 8. Now, the gun over here never saw action. The gun was never fired against anyone. The idea is very simple. If you have the biggest and the best cannon in the world, no one's trying to fight you. You try to make peace, no war. Like a deterrent in our days, the nuclear bomb. Okay, so basically this gun was brought here to make peace, but just in case Malta will be attacked, this gun could be used. But it still was fired 4 times a year. They had to do training, practices, how to know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, just in case Malta will be attacked. So it was fired 4 times a year, from 1884 to 1905. The last time the British fired the gun, 5th of May, 1905. Difficult to forget, 05, 05, 05. Okay, and if you do the maths, 84 to 1905 is 21 years. 21 times 4, 84. So I said there's 120 shots to fire the gun. 120 minus 84, 36 shots. Something happens, we can still fire the gun, there's still 36 shots left to fire back from it. Okay, now, as well, the gun will be painted every single season. We have summer, autumn, winter, and spring. The stone, the soil, and grass, it changes color. To camouflage the cannon with the environment, will even have been painted to make it much more difficult to see it from land. So every 3 months they used to paint it as well. Okay, now, the one that used to pull the fuse to fire the gun, there's a small hatch there inside the wall. It's a bit protected, okay, because the explosion was quite big that they used to say as well, at a 3-mile radar around Kalkara, you have to tell the individuals, people living in this 3 mile, to open their windows and doors. It could shatter the glass, okay. So the one that was here had to be a bit more safer. So he will be placed and stationed safely underneath the small hatch inside the wall over there, pulling the pin, covering his ears and eyes at the same time. But the smoke and the noise was quite loud. In fact, as well, they used to say if the wind was blowing to north, they heard the explosion from Sicily as well. That's how powerful the gun used to be. Okay, now the gun was placed here in 1884, and to put the gun on the carriage over here, they had to build as a type of crane. This crane will help us to lift up the gun and place it on the carriage. As you can see here in the picture, you can see they built a small crane to lift up the cannon. The longer the lever, the less force. We still have some pieces of this. A loophole in the wall over there, we have another one on the other side, and 2 loopholes on the floor as well. Rope used to go through it, pull the rope, and elevates the gun. Okay, the gun was brought into Malta in the 80s. It was brought from the UK. It took 6 months to arrive to Malta, did 6 months at Sunset Dock at Sanglia in Kalkara. It was brought to Rinella Bay. Rinella Bay, 15 minutes walk away from here, less than 15 minutes. Can anyone guess how long 100 men took to bring the cannon from down the road? 10 minutes walk.
We've seen the video, so we know.
I can't remember, but it was a long time.
More than a month.
80 days, was it?
A bit more.
87, I think, wasn't it?
90 days.
3 months.
3 months to bring the gun from a 5-minute walk away.
It's a big hill, though.
There's a small hill, yes. And as well, they use jacks, rollers, horses, and the muscle power of these men. Okay, they took 3 months. We don't blame them. 150 tons. Okay.
Makes you wonder how they build these old.
But nowadays, no, it doesn't take that much long. You have a crane, put it on a truck. So it takes a bit shorter. But you have to keep in mind nowadays things have evolved a lot. It takes long, but for example, to ship it from the UK to Malta, you know, then you have to sign paperwork and these sort of things in our days. But back in the day, it took longer because they do not have the vehicles that we have in our days. Okay, so 100 men took 87 days, that's the number, not 90, 87 days, 90 is rounded up, to bring the cannon from down the road to up here. Okay, so what did they do? 1878, they built the front side, the 2 sides of the fort. They put the cannon in 84 and closed the fort 2 years later in 1886. So they built the first part of the fortification, put the cannon in and closed the fort afterwards. As I said, the last time it was fired by the British was 5th of May 1905. The last time we fired it as Fondazione with Arna, 2015, a couple of years ago. Okay, we try to fire it every once in a while, but it, it's difficult, and documents and paperwork, army, police, government, it takes a lot of time to do this. So basically, we try to fire it every once in a while. Once everything will be restored, it will fire again. Okay, so we don't use 200 kilos of black powder with the projectile. We only put 20 kilos of powder. We just wanted some noise and some explosion. We don't, want to scare anybody around. Okay, yeah, just to not to fire the Italians, but made it to scare away the film studios.
Is the fuse? Have you got a fuse carriage or something somewhere then?
But not like a battery, just
Splash.
But my question is how they were getting the to hit the target.
I was gonna stay upstairs. Lovely. Okay. Good. So let's go upstairs and the gun as well. Gives you an idea on how big the gun is, and the maximum the gun could actually fire 8 miles just beyond the horizon. You can see the sky and sea touch each other. That's how far the gun could actually fire over here. All the area you can see in front of us, this area of sea, was all protected with these 2 cannons here in Malta. One here and one in Sliema. You know where Sliema is found? That gives you an idea. There's the orange and the blue tower, that's St. Julian's, Hilton Hotel. Move a bit further this way, there are those tall buildings. That's Sliema's over there. There's Stedia Point. Okay, it's protecting the entrance of the Grand Harbour and Marshamshed Harbour on the other side of Valletta. You can see the breakwater over here. Now, to aim the gun, we are going to use the most boring subject on earth. Maths. Okay, trigonometry and Pythagoras. There will be a soldier in that corner and a soldier in the other corner. They have a peloscope or binoculars. They know at what they're aiming at. They will know the angle. They know the distance between them. Then you start calculating, the lengths and 2 angles. You know where the enemy is over there, and this will give you the coordinates where the enemy is found. To make it more accurate, there's the fort down the road, Fort Rinella, the biggest fortification in Malta, built by the Knights of St. John, expanded later by the British. In our days, it's not able to access by the public. It's being used by the film studios. So, for example, they're building scenes for Gladiator. Same thing as here. Okay, and there's a fortification up the road, Fort St. Rocco. Same thing. They know the distance between them, calculate the angles, and much more easier to aim the gun. Whenever they fire the gun, they used to put markers in the sea. Do you all know the game Battleship? Yeah, numbers and letters. Same thing down here. So they put certain markers, and they will know that this marker is B7, for example. They know the elevation and rotation of B7 over there. But you have to calculate certain things even when you're firing. You have to calculate, like today, the wind, gravity, and the roundness of the earth. So a lot of mathematics has to go to fire the gun, especially when you go over 5 miles, flying at 8 miles over there. You have to calculate a lot of things, like the wind, as I said, gravity, and the roundness of the earth as well. Now, the massive velocity, meaning the projectile, it will travel up to 1,150 feet per second. That's how quick the projectile will travel. Okay, gives you an idea how fast it is. Now, this gun over here remains still today thanks to certain people, the Navy. And from 1905 till the 1930s, 20s, this fort was abandoned. From 1920s to the 60s, there were the Navy over here. Now, the British told certain soldiers and certain fortifications that cannons or any metal not being used, scrap it. That's why the one in Fort Cambridge in Sliema was cut down into pieces in 1955, 10 years after the war. So they're even scrapping metal cannons. But this fortification was under the supervision of the Navy. Navy don't get orders from the army. Okay, so whenever an army officer used to come here, they used to tell them, cut the gun. Okay, the officer is not here. A few months later, the gun is still in one piece, not enough tool. Now they a couple of months, we don't have enough men to do this. So the gun is still left in one piece, thanks to the gentlemen that, they were Navy. So the gun is still over here, and thanks to them, we explain on how the gun fires back in the day.
Because they were lazy or because they wanted to protect the gun?
They wanted to protect the gun.
Yeah, because the Navy don't like the army.
Exactly.
They don't take orders.
Like I said, the Navy never takes orders from the army, same thing as the Air Force, nothing. they try to compete between themselves. You know, if you're in the Air Force, you think Air Force is the best. If you're in the Navy, you think Navy is the best. So there are some competitions between them, but the Navy never gets orders from the Army. So they left the gun over here, because they never take orders from them. Okay, now, next to us over here, you can see the film studios. At the moment, they're building a small scene for Gladiator. So if you'd like to see what's happening in Gladiator 2, let's have a look over here. Okay, sneak peeks. No, over here, this is a small pool which will be filled up with water. They put the camera at a certain angle. They have to pull the pool water and the sea level at the same level over here, and they're pretending the middle of the ocean. So if you see Captain Phillips, First Caribbean, it was never filmed in the middle of the sea. It was filmed in place. Yeah, that's not what it is. Here in Malta, there's a bigger one, a deeper one over there. Yeah. Basically, here in Malta, they filmed a lot of famous movies. For example, they filmed Gladiator, Troy, Assassin's Creed, Shot of the Devil, Munich, U-Boat 571, Dust Boat, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones. These all have been here filmed in Malta. Okay. We have certain locations easier to film as well. If you like to see something which was filmed in Malta, there is a film in Munich. It was shot in Gibraltar. Okay. And that day it was a stormy day. Munich was supposed to be set in the 1940s, 1950s. If you look closely in the film, you're going to see the Gozo ferry passing behind. It was a windy day, a stormy day. It was supposed to go around Gozo. The wind was blowing from that side, so to go around coming in over at that day. And they did not notice there is the Gozo ferry in the background. So go and see Munich, they're going to see them walking in Bujimba, and you're going to see the Gozo ferry passing. Okay. They go there, they get money. So they have to stop filming for about a week. Okay, so sometimes they have to find certain things, make it, they have to have people don't go a certain distance on the boat and these certain things. Yes, that is has space. It's a small area where big tankers and
edit it later.
okay. Put the cartridge between your finger between the fingers on the left hand like this. Other way around, other way around. So the bullet will be in front, like that. Okay.
Yep.
One hand over here, and now I present load and fire. Okay. So load the weapon. Present in 3, 2, 1, fire. Unload the weapon by harshly pulling down the lever. Tilt the weapon down. Don't touch the cartridge. No, tilt it down. All the way, all the way.
Just let it.
Don't touch that, that's boiling hot.
Yeah.
Okay.
That I do know.
And that's how to fire and become a soldier back in the day.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can show you as well the date. Over here it's an Enfield 1875 Mark II. So this one was designed in 1875. Martini Henry Mark II. There were 5 different marks to make them always better and evolve the weapon. 20 rounds per minute. Okay, distance range up to 2,000 yards, effective up to 1,600. Okay, so we try to imagine the noise you heard over here, multiply it by 2, because we only put half the amount of powder for safety reasons, and as well multiply by 100 the amount of soldiers. So basically this noise multiplied by 200, and you get the idea how many people, what type of noise will be firing this weapon here. So we fired a part of history.